Building your brand on land that you don't own, it could easily be taken from you.
Trademark this term whole life leadership, and I tried to do it myself and it got denied. 2 years ago I started the trademarking process for my current business, Soulful CEO, and it went through.
I have horror stories for days. A girl across the table was like, "What is your business name?" Fast forward a few days and my client's Instagram account gets shut down.
Most of the advice you've heard about building a brand skips over a really critical piece of the work. And it's not often talked about, but when it's missed, it really can limit your ability to scale, build that ownable body of work. And in the worst case scenario, it really could put your whole brand at risk. So that's the conversation that we're having today. And it is going to be interesting and hopefully so supportive for you, because my guest today is going to make sure that you understand everything you need to, or at least start to understand all of the things that you need to know in order to protect your intellectual property and create a business that can scale with you. Berkley Sweetapple is an intellectual property attorney and the founding attorney of Berkley Sweetapple Law. And she and her firm helps founders really own the work that they're here to do and that they're known for. So this episode is really going to be a masterclass in what you need to be thinking about when it comes to trademarking and protecting that body of work that you are pouring so much into. So let's dive in. Welcome, Berkley. So excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. We were saying just before we hit record, all of the women that I work with need what you offer because they're building these bodies of work that they put so much into, like decades of experience, of IP and all of it. And we're going to get into the whole conversation around like even AI and later on and what your thoughts around on that.
Yeah.
But where we're going to start, where I think it would be really helpful to start is when we're talking about owning your body of work, what do you mean when you say that?
Having control over it, being able to control whether someone can copy your work, if you get paid for if someone copies your work, if there's like compensation involved, having intellectual property and like having registered trademarks, having your copyright, that's the only way to actually have the exclusive right to use your work, to use your name in your industry in all 50 states.
Isn't it crazy? Your name too.
Yeah. Business name, your personal name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when they think about owning their work, they're talking like it's around the brand and the language, but not as many people until they come across someone like you are likely thinking about actually solidifying that with things like trademarks and copyrights and things like that. I know that when I first started my business 10 years ago, I had a different business. It was a leadership development consultancy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trademark this term whole life leadership. And I tried to do it myself and it got denied. And I was like, shit, what did I do wrong? And then I gave up on it until I guess it would be 2 years ago, I started the trademarking process for my current business, Soulful CEO. And I got help with it this time and it went through. And I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? Why did the first one not work out? And I know you don't know the behind the scenes, but what are some of the things that make it not work out for people and then other times make it work out?
So I think doing it yourself is one of the most common ways to have it not work out.
Lesson learned. I'm like, I'll go cheap and do them. I'm sure I can figure it out. No.
But we all, as like entrepreneurs and like ambitious women, I feel like we're like, we can do this. Just having the mindset of staying in your lane, staying in your zone of genius and knowing that your work is so important that you want it protected and you want it protected the right way to begin. So and this comes up like even when you hire an attorney, like there are problems that arise, but attorneys are able to deal with them better than if you were to deal with them yourself. So when you filed your application, it could have gotten denied for a variety of reasons. And some of those things that an attorney would have been able to spot. If there was one that was very similar to yours and you tried to apply and got denied based on that other name, that's still likely to happen with an attorney. But an attorney can do a search and let you know before you file so you don't waste time and money. Or an attorney can help you overcome a refusal. So if you, for a similar name, an attorney can argue with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and be like, actually, it's not that similar and the goods and services are a little bit different, and can actually rely on case law to overcome the refusals and move your application forward.
Yeah, so you have someone to advocate for you because there are lots of nuances behind that. And I see a lot, and I don't know because I don't know the ins and outs, but I see a lot of people slap the little trademark symbol on their Instagram bio or things
Yeah.
that they do. And I don't know. I don't know if they've actually got the proper trademark for it. What does that do anything? If you're like, okay, I want to own this term, I'm building my whole business around this, I'm just going to start calling it a trademark. What's the psychology behind that, and does it actually help you?
Yeah, so there's two sides of the coin. So the TM symbol actually doesn't mean anything legally. It means you consider your name or your business name, your mark, as a trademark. So if you know that it legally doesn't mean anything and you see somebody that has a TM after, it might signal to you, okay, this name actually isn't trademarked. It's actually, I can use this.
Mm,
So that's why I'm a little hesitant to tell clients to put the TM on anything before they file. The R with the circle around it, we've seen that. That's you can
yeah.
only use that once you've registered something. So if you have the R if you have a registered mark, always put the R. But if you are wanting to claim something and you think the TM is doing anything, it's
It's
not.
not.
Yeah,
Okay. In
just
fact, it might be doing the opposite. And
exactly.
let's go to first. When should people start thinking about this? Because I do think I'm like just hearing objections or people like, okay, I'll get to that one day. That's actually for big businesses or something like that. At what point do you actually recommend people start registering their trademarks? And what should we be thinking about to register beyond the business name?
So I always say before you launch is the best time because
Mhm.
likely you're investing more than $3,000 in your business. If you think of like logo, branding, photography, website design, like social media management, whatever you're doing, you're likely going to invest more than $3,000, which is like the
Mhm.
approximate cost of getting a trademark. And if you're
Yeah.
building your brand on land that you don't own, it could easily be taken from you. You can easily get a cease
Mhm.
and desist letter from someone who has just filed for the trademark or has been using the name saying, we actually have the rights to this name and you need to change it. And then you've lost all of that customer recognition that you've put into your brand and it's worth it. So my test is always when you have a name that you love that you would be upset if you had to change, that's the time to trademark it. Ideally
Got it.
before it's like public and launched.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
besides,
So it's
there's
actually very early on.
very early on, yeah. And you don't have to trademark everything. So like I'll launch offers sometimes and I'll come up with names and some of them I like know I'm going to use. I'm
Hmm.
certain I'm going to use them. They're going to stay. I love them. I want to own them. Other
Yeah.
ones, like I launched an offer called the Legal Reset in January. And I was like, I want to wait to see if anybody actually buys this before I trademark it because I'm just like, if it's not going to become a core offer, then I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like business name for sure. Like you have to trademark your business name. If you have a distinctive logo or you're worried somebody copying like the design elements, definitely
Mm.
trademark the logo. Same thing with taglines and slogans. Same thing with like event names, mastermind names, anything that you're really like known by that people see it and they recognize you and associate it with you.
Hmm.
And then I would just say trademarks are an investment and they do take time. So you don't need to trademark absolutely everything, but just think about
Yeah.
what you would be upset if you had to change.
Awesome. Yeah. The amount of time that it takes was actually shocking to me. Between the time I submitted my
Exactly.
trademark and I forgot about it. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden I get this email and it comes through. I'm like, oh my gosh, because the last one got denied. So I was almost not expecting it to happen. And then it did, but it was like 18 months or something like that, I think it took.
Yeah, the longest one for us has taken a little over 3 years,
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
shortest one is probably 6 months.
Wow. Yeah. So it is a commitment and a process, not just like the time wise, but yeah, you want to make sure that you are going to use the thing and not just,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. What
Yeah.
about, so a lot of the work that I do with people is around helping them codify their unique and ownable methodology. And
Mhm.
so what about things like that? What's your advice on things like that?
So you can't trademark the name of a framework if that's all it is. It has the source of your goods or services. I'll give an example. I'll give a little shout out to one of my clients. Her name's Selene, and she is the trademark owner of the Alcatranian method. So it's this amazing weight loss method where I don't even know the science, but it works. So she called it the Alcatranian method. If she was just using it as a method that she talked about in her book, she would not have been able to trademark it. But she uses it as the name of her course. And so if it's a course or a digital download or a masterclass or something else, that is showing that's a source identifier rather than just a methodology name.
So it doesn't have to be your business name, but it has to be tied to an offer, it sounds like, and be part of the offer name. And then that offer would obviously have to be trademarked as well. Is that
the offer name? Yeah, if it's the same name as the offer name,
yeah,
that's when you can trademark. The test is basically like, does this identify the source of someone's goods or services? And it'd be like Hanes. If Hanes was like written on a shirt, that doesn't look like a source identifier. Same thing with like a methodology name, but Hanes on a tag, that's like where source identifiers. That's where you can tell something is saying where it came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's shift the conversation a little bit from what we can trademark to why we should. And I want to get in, spill the tea here. I'm going to share a story around early in my career working for a company around a really bad experience that they had around not trademarking something properly. And then I'm going to give you some space to think about some of the things that you either worry about or see, because I think it is important to understand that it is an important thing and what could go wrong or what would have to be the impact of it if you didn't do this work. Not to scare people, but just to understand the weight of it. And early in my career, I was working for a company and like North America wide company, locations across North America. I don't know the details and I'm not going to get into them, but somehow the trademark either wasn't filed properly or it wasn't done properly at all. They got a notice that they had to change. They were like a big company from a dinky little company that had the actual rights to this name. Was like, you are using our trademark name. You have to change it. They got lawyers involved. So the reason I'm sharing this is even with money and lawyer power, they were not able to win it. And they had to change the name of their brand across all of the locations, across the entire thing. They did it in a way that ended up being like a elevation, like a rebrand. So it wasn't like terrible, but it cost so much money to do that because all the signage had to be replaced. All of the menus had to be replaced, all the things. That is big scale what can happen. And I saw that early on. And that's probably why in my head, I was like, okay, right out of the gates, let's get the trademark. Yeah. But for people who are more in the coaching, consulting, service provider realm, what are some of the things that you've seen?
Oh my gosh, I have horror stories for days. I think what people
grab your copies, listen
get your tea. Oh my God. Okay. One of the craziest stories. I had a client who came to me and she had to rebrand. And it was because she was at a conference, like an industry specific conference. And they were like around a table and introducing themselves, saying their name and where they're from and what their business is. And so she said her business name and a girl across the table was like, "What is your business name?" And she repeated herself. And the other girl was just like, she looked pissed and she was like, went quiet and left. And my client noticed she left in the middle of the conference, didn't come back. Fast forward a few days and my client's Instagram account gets shut down because not only has this other girl filed for the trademark, but she's reported her to Meta. And report her and shut her Instagram account down.
Wow.
So she not only lost her name and had to rebrand, which she did rebrand to a much cuter name, but she lost her entire Instagram following. Because if your Instagram handle's infringing on a trademark, they'll just take it down.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is a horror story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like and that's the scary thing about like borrowed platforms like Instagram and things like that, where we don't own that. We don't own the name or the platform. It can just get shut down. And if that's the way that you make money and is your main funnel, it can be really impactful. Not like to mention just the brand reputation you build around your name over the course of time. So yeah, there we go. Cautionary tale.
Oh, no, I'm sure I have more, but I won't scare you.
Okay. Well, let's go into what's possible. Because I know if you go check out Berkley's website, one of the things that you talk about on your homepage is this idea of having the legal foundations in place so that you have confidence to scale. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy because there's one, it's juicy. We can talk about the horror stories and why you should, and that's important to know. But on the other side of it is there's this what's possible when you actually create a brand that's meant to scale.
I think that scaling a business in general starts with your mindset. You're never going to hit 100K months, $1 million months if you don't actually believe that you can. That belief and that confidence is what drives everything. And if you're operating from a place of not knowing if you're safe, you're never going to have that confidence. And you're feel safe enough to really be visible and big and have those high cash months and feel like sustainable and protected. So I think having a lot of women come to me and they're like, I know I'm afraid of doing things like wrong and I don't know what I don't know. And I'm afraid of doing getting in trouble or getting copied. And it's so many women tell me that they have not launched the podcast or they haven't really grown their business. They haven't shown up because they don't have these things in place. And it's just legal is so much more than paperwork. It's really giving yourself that green light to go after what you want and feel safe doing it and know that you're building on solid ground.
Yeah. I love that perspective. And as you were talking, I'm like, yeah, there's the safety element 100%. And then there's also just the legitimacy and building it as that business, to your point, that can scale to 100K, $1 million months. And we always talk about is what would that version of you do now? How would she set you up for success now? Yeah. And you hear about this all of the time is people who and I've been in my own version of this, is you get to your next level of success and then you figure it out at that point. But it's not the best way to scale because you're always playing catch up and you have these moments of growth and then it feels chaotic until there's that foundation that you can build in place versus laying the foundation so that when you get to these next levels, there isn't anything to figure out. You're not trying to patch a leaky vessel. It's just solid.
Exactly. You're stepping into that identity before you're there necessarily. And just what would the version of me who's making 100K months be doing right now? How would she be operating? Would she be sending out her own payment demands when I play, or would she just be oh, my team does that. I just pass it to my lawyer and her CEO energy.
Yeah. And have a process for it and all of that stuff. Totally. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that part in too. Is if this goes beyond trademarking, this conversation is around, and the things that you support people with is around even business systems like payment protocols and contracts. Oh, the amount of people that have leaky contracts that it's not good. And then it causes so many energy leaks for us as business owners when we have someone who defaults on payment and we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't put what was going to happen in the contract, or I have no way to reinforce that. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that is what are some of the other things we should be thinking about as business owners?
Yeah, just having contracts that really reflect how you're doing business and how you want things to happen. Protecting your energy is such an important point. Ensure your scope of work and your deliverables actually reflect what you mean to be giving, what you want to be giving. How many revisions do you want to be doing? How many calls do you want to be available for? What are your business hours? How long do you take to respond to things? All of those things, because then it's just, like you said, you have systems that you can rely on. If somebody says, I want a refund for this, you just have to be paragraph 8, there are no refunds. Yeah. You have to pay through the end of the term. And if that doesn't happen, my lawyer's in contact. And it doesn't blow up your day. You don't get bent out of shape. Because when you're doing business at 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, it's not a matter of if these things are going to happen. It's a matter of when. So having really solid contracts, obviously protecting offer names, your business name, anything new you launch. I think the difference between 7 and 8 figure coaches and coaches that are just starting out is the ones who are making 7, 8 figures. It's not a matter of should I trademark or when do I trade. It's they think of something and they're I got to get it before somebody else does. And having that mentality that you're building something big even before you can see it. Because we've all started our businesses where we're okay, we're not making any money, but we know we're going to, and really believe yourself that it's going to happen. So protecting all of the things that you're building, having disclaimers like making sure you have earnings disclaimers. If you're like talking about how you helped so-and-so get to 100K months, the FTC is really cracking down on earnings claims, testimonials, making sure you have website policies, website terms of use, privacy policies legally required. And with the rise of AI, it's so much easier to catch people who are not in compliance. And there are law firms that are just doing this to like settlements. So just making sure you have all of your T's crossed.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
If someone's like listening to this and they're like, okay, that sounds like a lot to think about, what would be the first place to like the first step to think about in terms of getting their T's crossed? Would it be contracts? Where would it be?
Yeah. So I would say I have a legal template shop, as we have something called the 7-figure CEO bundle, where you get access to every single legal template and any live training, pre-recorded training. I would just dive into that. That's the most cost-effective thing to do. And your business name, trademarked. Get all of your contracts. Watch the training so you know what to do when somebody doesn't pay, or know what to do to make sure a name is available before you move forward with a name. You have all your contracts there, and then hire a lawyer.
Easy. And we'll link in the show notes, the link to your shop so people can check that out. Awesome. You brought up AI, and I want to go there next in our conversation because I think it's such an interesting conversation. And there's so many places we could go with it. So I'm just going to tell you what's on my mind, and then you decide where you are most interested to talk about. So the first thing that I think is really interesting about AI is just intellectual property and what that actually means now. And like, how do you own it? How do you protect it when someone can just swipe your entire course or your entire blog and whatever? I don't even know. There's your YouTube videos. Like, it's all out there. Yeah. Your likeness. There's so much. So actually it's a big topic. So I'm just going to put that in space. What do you think about that?
I got this. So if you're on Instagram, like, and scrolling, you probably see these videos where creators are like complaining about AI basically using their likeness, using their face. Celebrities are like actually trademarking their face as the trademark of the image and voice clips to basically be able to prevent against these AI bots. And maybe not prevent, but if the AI bots take their image and their likeness, there's an easy kind of remedy. So that's one thing we're doing. We're like encouraging all of our higher profile clients, even people who are just using, Instagram for marketing, to like trademark their faces so that they're protected.
That's so wild.
I know. People, you can't copyright anything that AI has helped create. So if you're using AI to
write
draw
a book,
something, that's not an original work of authorship because AI created it. So
that's good to know. And I kind of like that, but it's also interesting because I don't know, if people really know that or are thinking about that.
Yeah. So AI, it's definitely, and it's like just the beginning. So we don't really know how courts are dealing with things yet because the law is always a step behind society going on.
And so how do you prevent, say, you have a program out there, a course out there, and someone takes the course and they download all your stuff and then they put it into AI and make it theirs. So it's not like exactly the same, and reshare it as their own thing. How is that allowed, and what can you do about it?
So there's two kind of protection mechanisms. So one would be your terms of purchase. So when somebody buys your course, they agree to a terms of purchase. That's your contract with them. And then you say, you can't reproduce this. This is for personal use only. Like, here are your username and password. You can't create something similar. All of that is a breach of contract claim if someone were to take your stuff. The other way is protecting it with copyright. So copywriting the videos, copywriting the ebooks, the PDFs, so that if somebody does copy it enough, you can either, one, get it taken down, but two, you could potentially sue and get a lot of money.
And then you would have to say, you'd have to be able to prove that it was like enough like yours.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so without your lawyer hat on, just your observational hat, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, this is just an unmanageable kind of thing. I don't know how manageable this is going to be now even versus in the future. I know obviously this is what you help people with and there's a way to get buttoned down, but like how hopeful are you that this is actually manageable?
Like the AI in general?
Just protecting your IP.
I think that I'm hopeful. So I think that your IP protected actually gives you a remedy. And the court system's real. If you have a picture and you copyright it and somebody takes it and they put it on your website, you can sue them in federal court and a court will order them to pay $30,000, whatever it is, per violation. That is a real thing. You have real remedies. Litigation is always expensive. It's always stressful. It takes a long time, but that is just the nature of the beast. But there are like remedies, and you are only able to access those remedies if you actually trademark and copyright yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like that it is your best course of action. And what you're saying is that it will work out. Like there is a process for it to work out as long as you have this piece.
And even if you don't go through the entire litigation process, like we've had one of my clients was accused of copyright infringement. And I was like, okay, I don't see a registration number in here about the copyright certificate that they're claiming to have. Let me verify that they've actually registered this with the U.S. Copyright Office, because if we're talking about a settlement, those are like, one, they have leverage. The other situation, they have no leverage. So it gives leverage. Like if someone were copying you, you could kind of leverage a settlement, whereas you wouldn't be able to if you did protect yourself.
Yeah, totally. Like, so sometimes you don't even need to go there. It's just the fact that
most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So tell us a little bit about how you work with people. So we've talked a little bit about the self-serve shop that you have. What's inside of there, and then how else do you help people?
So we have the contract template shop, which is called the Business Studio, and we have downloadable fill-in-the-blank contract templates, guides, trainings, where you can download a privacy policy and fill it out in 20 minutes or less. So that's a really affordable, accessible way to.
Is this good for everyone or just in the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Just in the U.S., okay.
Just in the U.S., yeah. Yep. You could probably tweak it, but I would suggest having another attorney review it if you're in another country.
Yeah.
And then I have my law firm where we work one-on-one with business owners. So we do trademarks, copyright, custom contracts, cease and desist letters, demand letters, business kind of strategy, all of the things where we work with clients. We have VIP days where if you have a lot of things going on, like if you're a coach and you're like, I have 6 programs and I need all the things, then we do a VIP day and where we group the projects together.
Awesome. I love your model because there's a lot of people in your space that just do the more high touch stuff, the done for you stuff. And I love that you make this work accessible for people wherever they're at in their journey, so they can go into the shop, grab their own things. And then when they actually need you or want support, there's that layer there too. So they can start building a relationship with you early on, because I do think, and I love that you niche down into this space too, because it can be a kind of a weird world to navigate, and then you're like, who can really help me, and do they understand my business? And so the fact that you just work with mostly coaches, consultants, service providers, is unique and special.
Yeah, I love we work with a lot of coaches, and it's my favorite niche to be in because I feel like I get it as a fellow business owner.
So to wrap, tell us a little bit about how you got to doing what you're doing. So a little bit about your story.
So I'll start in law school. I got voted most likely to quit the practice of law and become a housewife.
That's reassuring, hey? It's like, really setting you up for success.
Really setting me up, really gave me that vote of confidence leaving law school. I did litigation for 7 years, and that's like when you fight over problems in court, and I hated it. But it really taught me kind of like what to look out for and like why it's so important to protect your business the first time in a proactive way. So while I was doing litigation, I started this legal lifestyle blog because I was like, I'm just going to quit being a lawyer because I hate it. And
They were right. Yeah.
They were right. I joined, I don't know if Julie Solomon, but I joined one of her programs, and everyone in the program came to me with their legal questions. And I'm like, no, this type of law, but like, how fun would it be to work with other women who are building businesses too? And that could be my business rather than working with older men in real estate who are asking me to get their coffee for them.
Totally.
This feels better. So I, a few years later, started my template shop, and then shortly after my law firm, like in 2021. And we've grown. We've helped over 600 entrepreneurs. We have over 450 registered trademarks. So it's just kind of like, grown from there, which has been fun.
What a success story. I hope you have let all your law school buddies know.
Oh, I do. All the time. And they like, my friends are always like, you showed them.
Yeah, and they're probably so jealous. They're like, you got everything and you have a lifestyle that's way better than ours, and you get to work with people you actually like.
Most of them have quit their big firm jobs, and I'm like, I hated it. I didn't need to do 10 years to know I hated it.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for giving us some things to think about and places to really grounded and actionable places to start. And as I said, we'll link all of your information in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want some support with this, hopefully we've made the case for you that it is important and you can start anytime. And yeah, you can get the links in the show notes. So thanks for joining, Berkley. It was great chatting with you. And for everyone who is listening, we'll see you in the next episode.